that silence was killing us.
We need to do something different.
100%.
Yeah.
The Army was desperate because the 22 a day statistic, it's not just 22 anymore. It's more.
Yeah.
That's not just like a fancy slogan you slap on a bracelet. That's
what would you say it is? Because I was going to ask this earlier.
Yeah, it's. I think it's closer to 24 to 27. If we were to look it up today.
Most people don't even notice a leak until the damage is done. Not just on their roof, but in their life. Stress, regret, the slow drip of neglect. It doesn't just leave watermarks. It rots the very foundation of who you are. And that's why you need cover. That is why you need someone you can trust. That's why you need Tennessee Recon Roofing. Owned and operated by Joseph Baydoun, a veteran who knows what it means to do recon, to investigate what's broken, to assess the damage, and to protect what matters most. This isn't just about shingles. This is about shielding your home and your peace of mind. Tennessee Recon Roofing. Built with purpose, led by honor, and ready to cover you when life tries to leak through. You ready to get rolling?
Let's do it.
What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit Podcast. What we do on this podcast is bringing guests from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life to share their journey and everything along the way that led them to where they're at today. In a world of filters, algorithms, and artificial everything, this podcast is a reminder of what's real. Unfiltered stories, raw emotion, and the kind of human connection that can't be faked. We're here to make an impact, and that is what we do. So if that is for you, like, subscribe, all those wonderful things. And if that is not for you, I don't know what your problem is, but it's time to jump on board today. Thank you. But without further ado,
Great pitch, man.
appreciate it. I would love to introduce today's guest, Mr. Jonathon Schleicher.
The OG. Yeah.
Dude, it's so good to have you.
I'm so glad to be here, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, man. You know, a little backstory, guys. Jonathan and I met at a barbecue place.
Yeah, Single
Tree Barbecue. Our buddy Charlie Evelyn owns it. And I don't know if you really know. Do you know?
I do. I love Charlie. Yeah, Charlie has opened up his doors to a lot of our events and organizations for different community resources to kind of like exactly what we had, which was like a melding of the minds, right?
Yeah.
You had Paul, you had Justin, and all these other, and Matt, all together at the table.
Yeah, it was really cool, man.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And you know, like when we talk about authenticity, it was just a group of organizations and people sitting at the table figuring out how they could make a difference.
Yeah.
And that needs to happen more because you can slap a bumper sticker on something and say, I support the troops, right? Or I want to hire veterans.
Yeah.
But that authenticity of saying, okay, how can we help? What are we doing? And being open to that melding of the minds in the community.
Yeah.
It's critical. Yeah.
Titles don't mean shit, man.
Titles don't mean anything.
It's all about your actions.
Awareness is just the first step. Congratulations. You're aware that the problem sucks.
Exactly, man. And so like, it was really cool getting to know you and talk to you a little bit that day, man. And we stayed in touch lightly since then. Yeah. And, I had to move my building and all that stuff.
Yeah, a lot going on here. And then I had like 2 or 3 different events and calamities. And
yeah, no, I think we had like scheduled like twice for you to record and they both fell through.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we had deployments return and tragedies hit and all sorts of stuff, yeah.
Hell yeah, man. So let's get into your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Military Family Readiness Officer.
Specialist.
Specialist,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good way to remember MFRS. I'm your favorite MFer, right?
Yeah. I love that, dude. And so what is it that you do?
So what I do, I'm essentially a federal employee with the Department of the Military. I'm also in the Guard. I am a captain. I'm an officer. But I am also a Title V federal employee, which means I wear civilians, I show up, and I connect resources to our service members and veterans in times of need or crisis.
Nice, man.
Yeah, so and not just our service members, but their families, their communities. So, when people think of the National Guard, they think of, they're involved in natural disasters or they're the hometown Guard community.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth to that. But the reality as it is today is that the Guard has a global footprint, that we're held to the same standards of the active duty world. So we need the same services.
Yeah.
And, when our veterans come to us, they're coming to us in times of great need. We help with evictions. We help with, their vehicle being repossessed. We help with getting mental health. That's a big one. So we're essentially a caseworker in which we talk to the veterans, identify the need, and then we go out within our community and try to reach that need.
You're obviously someone that's dedicated your life to service of others.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a beautiful thing. Given that, you covered professionally, but what does life look like for you today, both, personally and, even emotionally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in your healing process too, because I can imagine a lot of what you do has an effect on you as an individual. Yeah. So cover that just briefly before we take it back.
No, 100%. If you just ask my wife, that's the thing,
right?
So when we talk about personally, it is a lot. Like every day, we're handling someone at their lowest.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes we don't, sometimes either call us too late, or sometimes we interject within their own journey a little too late, and the results are they're not with us anymore, or something happened that critically impacted their life, and we have to help either pick up the pieces or deal with the fallout.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot. And it's difficult, when you talk to first responders and you talk to, for example, firefighters, EMTs, there is a common element, and that is, in order to prevent burnout, you have to live it. You have to absolutely be dedicated, and you have to find a way that you can't, or the way that you don't bring it home with you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be completely transparent. I really struggle with that.
Oh, really?
Really. So my whole story, I've been in the Guard for 16 years, and I'm a suicide intervention officer within the Tennessee National Guard.
Yeah.
But my commander took his life. And then on top of that, when he took his life, it was like a chain effect. We lost 5 other soldiers from that one unit.
God.
And then it just kept coming, and it still keeps coming. So it's very difficult. It is personal. Once I said, don't take it personal. No, it's very personal.
Yeah.
And
people they're taking their lives, man.
Yeah. And these are not just, and it doesn't matter if it's someone you just barely met once. They wore the uniform, you served with them. There's a connection there. But in addition to that, it wouldn't matter. They're still a person. They still have their story, and then they get relegated to the past tense, and the world keeps spinning. And that's the brutal part of it all, right? Is that it keeps going, and you're stuck here either trying to figure out how you're going to go along with it and live with the new normal.
Yeah.
And that is it's a tough pill, and I'm not very good at it. It is very personal to me. I also take that as a fuel to say, every time it happens, it will not happen again under my watch. It will not.
For sure, man.
Right. So I just keep driving.
Dude, so you're just obviously, for lack of better terms, it's built. There's a lot of empathy there.
Yeah.
And you feel it more and more as you go on. I mean,
absolutely.
For me, it's the same thing with this show, right? Having discussions like this, looking at someone directly and them sharing, raw stuff like they're experiencing.
Yeah.
That's deep shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's stuff I edit. So I'm constantly listening to the message, and I feel that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It kind of carries with you,
Yeah, it does. It's for lack of a better term, the energies that you submit, if you are able to receive even a fraction of it, and hear somebody's story, and that's something I teach all the time when I'm teaching suicide intervention, is hearing someone's story. For one, how hard is it to listen?
Yeah.
How hard is it to actually actively just sit in front of someone and just let them talk?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then the second part is validating what you're hearing, right? So if they're telling your story, be receptive to that story. Don't sit there and interject your own story.
Yeah.
Right. And we have a habit of doing that. Oh man, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And this, and then you kind of branch off on the side trail of the shit you've been through.
I kind of do that on here, but there's also that it's conversational, right?
There's a shared experience.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's like, hey, I want you to know. There's a human level where you say, I want you to know I hear you.
Yeah. But when people talk about it, you're talking about I get exactly what you're saying, but sometimes people deliver it well, I went through this, and it
so
kind of So it's just fuck, why did I even share that?
Yeah,
with you?
that's well, thank you for kind of one-upping me.
I guess your life's harder.
Yeah, all right. Or it's a big thing, especially within our community. We wear our trauma like fucking trophies, pardon my language, right? So it's literally we stick our chest out and oh, you had a hard time? Listen to the things I've been through. Yeah. And it's we wear it like
a shoulder check.
Yeah, it's a medal. We're look what I did, right? And there's a certain level of human ingenuity there, that because you just want others to know, hey, this is my story. This is what's happened to me. It also, I say ingenuity, that word, because it removes the discomfort from having to hear someone's raw journey, right? So if you ever just sit somebody in a room and they just say, I'm thinking about killing myself. The air changed. I just said the words, right? The air changed. Did you feel it?
Yeah. Do I like throw a chain around them and lock them up? Like, no, you're not.
What do we do? So it's an uncomfortable conversation, right? When we talk about mental health and we talk about, or not just mental health, when you're at somebody at the Ross, like my house burned down, you want to deflect naturally. Your instinct is to remove the discomfort by going, oh man, that sucks. I hope everything's working out. I had a bad day at work. You're just trying to draw at straws, and it's counterintuitive in many cases to just sit there with the empathy and hear it and receive that energy here and then validate what they're going through.
Because it's so it's so impactful to like allow someone to share it. Like just talking is healing.
Critical.
But a lot of people bottle these things in across the board, even outside of the military, they just bottle shit up.
Absolutely.
But when you actually can talk about it, like that opens the door to like the healing process, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're letting it out,
Right. And when someone lets that out, a lot of people aren't equipped to handle those conversations, or they're just not comfortable with them. So a military and first responder community to that effort is a great example of that, because the one thing that we hear all the time is someone's like, hey man, how you doing? The next expression is something that I've been hearing ad nauseum for over 16 years. It's like, I'm living the dream.
Oh God.
Living the dream.
Are you?
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah? Last time I checked, your life was in shambles, but you're living the dream. Like, whose dream? Is it a nightmare? And then the jokes come, the dark humor follows. It's like, oh, it's somebody's dream, right?
Yeah.
And then it's a nightmare, but I'm living, and then we just kind of shrug it off. And then if we're not really equipped, or if we're not trying to authentically understand what they're going through, we just say, oh man, yeah, me too. Drive on.
What a crazy thing we'll dive into your story, but this is sparking a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
A crazy thing to ask somebody that you never really ask people, but we were at my mom's 60th a couple weeks ago and had a big surprise party, and one of her friends was there, and she's been through a lot, and I was just like, how's it going? She's like, oh, good, busy, da, da, da. And I get, you just kind of feel like, something in her eyes, right? Mm-hmm. I said, but are you happy? Dude, and she didn't know how to answer that.
No, that it completely disarms. So everyone's put on this mask.
It's a simple question. People don't ask that.
Yeah.
How's the house? How's the family? How's the job? But that one never asks, are you happy?
Right.
It's such it almost gives me chills, because like, damn,
yeah,
you're going to throw somebody off.
100%. If they're not used to hearing questions like that or asking questions like that. It's completely disarming. So when you're putting on a mask and you hear the same questions every day from your peers or your community, or it's like, hey, how are you doing? How is life? How's the job? But then turn around, instead of saying, how was your day? Tell me about your day.
Yeah.
And that's like, you'd see them go, okay. So and they don't know what to do. Even though they lived the day, they are subject matter experts of what happened to them during that day.
Yeah.
Regaling that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's difficult for them because they've built almost a persona.
Of course.
Right. Yeah. Well, armor.
Well, I'm curious, and there's some more I want to dive into regarding this. So we're going to get back to this whole subject, right?
Yeah, I'm loving it.
But now, perspective, I see where your whole perspective is, and like, this all makes so much sense, especially talking to you. But let's get some perspective on what led to that, right? So take us back, Jonathon. Take us back to the early days of Jonathon. Where are you from? Touch on some, maybe childhood a little bit, and, your experience there, and your parents, and just like maybe some impactful moments along that journey too, that maybe you could think impacted you in your actions today. But yeah, just start from scratch.
Absolutely, man. So back down to zero. I was been in Murfreesboro my entire life.
Yeah.
So I am a native through and through. Went to high school at Riverdale. And while I knew probably when I was about in the 7th or 8th grade, I wanted to join the military.
Yeah.
I knew that it was going to be my passion to serve.
Really?
Absolutely. So we come from a military family. My last name is, if you go to MTSU's memorial for the World War II memorial or veteran memorial, that's by the Charlie Daniels Center. Uh-huh. My ancestor's name is on there. So it's Captain Schleicher. He was killed in World War II overseas.
So it's in your blood.
It's literally in my blood. Wow. Right. And so My dad's side of the family served a lot. So did on my mom's side of the family, they served, but I was the only one within my immediate family.
Yeah.
So my mom and dad did not serve. However, I picked up the torch, and that was my passion since I could remember. I was in JROTC. I was that annoying kid that was like, "Oh my God, you're welcome for my future service." Right? so cringeworthy looking back on it.
You walk into test day and you're like, waiting for a salute. Everybody needs to stand at attention now.
Absolutely. MEPS was a huge journey, right? So, but I knew early on I was gonna join the military, and then
I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but it's funny just the stigma with ROTC and high school.
Absolutely, dude, absolutely.
Like ROTC,
oh God, and it gets a little better once you're at actual ROTC and not JROTC, but like you see these kids wear the uniforms, they call them the pickle suits because it was the old Class A's, and I got relentlessly bullied and picked on, but I was so proud of that uniform, man.
You're like, one day I'm fighting for this country.
I was like, yeah, I'll show you guys. Because I was also like 150 pounds soaking wet at 18. I was and I was born premature, so I had a lot of like hypermobility in my joints, and it just wasn't good. So I was also, in case you haven't been able to pick up, I am ADHD as shit. Like I'm the guy.
I feel you, bro.
So little fun fact: you cannot join the military if you are on stimulants or ADHD medication. So if you're on ADHD meds, or if you are on antidepressants, or if you're on any sort of medication that's prescribed, you can't join the military. You have to be clean of those medications, or at least at the time, for 2 years.
Yeah.
So when I found that out, I was like a sophomore or junior in high school.
When'd you join?
So I joined. So I tried to join my junior year.
Okay.
And I was going to do the split up program. So that's where you go to basic training during the summer of the end of the junior year before your senior year.
Okay.
You complete basic training, and then you complete your senior year of high school, and then you go to AIT.
Oh, okay.
So my best friend, it's a true story, at the time, he was also in JROTC, but he was like, we're going to join the Army. He's like, hey, he showed up at my house, and he was wearing an Army hat. And he was like, we're going to join the Army. So he drove me to the recruiting station, and I was so excited. And my recruiter was like, he was so pumped, right, until he's like, all right. And then the question came out, are you on any medications? And I was like, oh, yeah. And he was like, okay. Well, it's a good talk, come talk to me in 2 years. I also had knee surgery, so that was also a medical, disqualification there. So initially I was like, well, I guess this just isn't the cards for right now.
Yeah.
So my buddy continued his military career. And then I went to college at Middle Tennessee State. I was big into writing at the time, so I'm going to be a journalism major.
Yeah.
But there was still that gnawing feeling in my gut, like you need to be of service.
Yeah.
Like you have to serve. And it was almost like if you, I was dreaming about it.
Yeah.
Right. And then it was actually, I'll never forget, it was my first job. I was actually working at a movie theater with my closest friend, Brandon Albritton, who's also in the Guard with me. He looks at me and he goes, we should become officers. And at first, all that heartbreak of the initial failure came flooding in. And I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know if they'd take me. I don't know. And he's like, just let's talk to my dad. Let's talk to a recruiter and let's become officers. So then it went from like this, it just immediately ignited the fire again.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's do it. So despite the multiple injuries and I had cut off medication before that. When I found out in high school, I quit taking it because I was like, if I want to join, I can't join. So we went to a recruiter at MTSU. We contracted, and I was becoming I was on that path, and I was 1 year away. I had just completed LDAC, which is at Fort Lewis McChord, or it was at the time. Now it's at Fort Knox.
What's LDAC?
LDAC is the Leadership Development Assessment course.
Okay.
And so it is what you have to go through if you're in ROTC in order to commission. So they evaluate you. And it's a lot of stress because you only have like 4 weeks, and then you're out there. And it's at Knox now, but they evaluate you on your leadership abilities.
Yeah.
And if you don't do well, right, that you really only get one shot at the evaluation. You get couple of other shots. So there's a lot of stress, and that's by design. It's designed to see how you handle in stress.
Yeah.
And how you are able to persevere through that. And once you're complete that, I had already completed the hard part. That's what was crazy. The hard part was over. And then when I was coming back, my shoulder started giving me an incredible amount of problems. That hypermobility I'd mentioned earlier, they had installed a screw in my arm to prevent it from dislocating. And that screw came loose while I was in training. And it ripped everything to shreds. Everything. It had torn the ligaments, and it made its way to the humeral head and warped the bone. So then
that sucks.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't lift it. It was absolutely painful, and because it wasn't a visible injury, it was always, hey, keep going, right? So you're about to commission. The finish line's right there. So I ended up having my shoulder replaced. I was the youngest person at the time in the state of Tennessee to have a shoulder replacement surgery. And it was in 2010, and it almost threw my entire career trajectory off. Like, they were like, hey, you're never going to be able to do a push-up again. It's over. Like, it's done.
Yeah.
I did not take that line down. I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm going to keep pushing through. And I took a PT test about 4.5 weeks after the shoulder replacement surgery and the recovery. Ended up failing. I failed by one push-up.
Because that damn shoulder.
I passed the run and the sit-ups with flying colors because it's the old APFT.
Yeah.
So then it was, okay, I got to take it again. And then I failed the second one. So then they were pushing me through a med board, which means you're going to get kicked out. So the med board actually found me fit for retention if I passed this last PT test. So it was the all important PT test.
The pressure was on.
And I did. I passed it.
Nice.
And I commissioned as a second lieutenant from Middle Tennessee State University. And I've been in the Tennessee Guard ever since.
Dude.
Yeah. And then it really changed my patient. I went from combat engineer, like, oh yeah, we're going to be hard charger, door kickers and blow stuff up, to I need to be the champion for this mental health crusade.
So how long were you a combat engineer?
I'm still a combat engineer.
Okay, so but you were, I guess.
But that trajectory, that path, I was a platoon leader, and then I was the XO for an engineering company out in. It was the 190th. Now it became B Troop, RES. So it's out in Morristown, and I was a part of that unit for like almost 6 years. Those guys are my brothers. I love them dearly. I still talk to most of them.
Oh yeah, dude.
I love them so much. So they're my family. So that was the unit. So Captain Gilly was bringing everyone home from Afghanistan. Everybody made it back okay.
Before we dive into that,
yeah,
I just got to give you some props, man. You had a goal, and you did whatever you could to make it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone was like, you got to quit.
I appreciate that. Like, I've had people tell me to quit, not often. Most people are very encouraging, but I've just had some negative talk, and you get that as part of the growth. But, the fact of the matter is that even in the midst of that, the people telling you to quit, right? Like, you just kept, you're like, I'm going to see it through. I'm going to see it through. I'm going to keep trying.
Exactly.
And, and that persistence, man, like a lot of times, you could have all the boxes unchecked that like, oh, that may indicate you aren't ready for it, right? Or you're not going to make it. And so you can look at it and be like, man, I can't do the push-ups. I got this, I got that. I've been on the medication. You can look at all these different things and, and it almost goes along with what I put today. It says the fear of the storm is much worse than the storm itself.
Oh, absolutely.
And, like you had this fear of like this thing you're not going to be able to achieve, but then you're in it and you've got it, right? If that makes sense.
It makes
I'm trying to
sense.
translate this well. So what I'm getting at is just props to you for just like overcoming the challenges and seeing it through and making it happen, because it also obviously dives into later in your journey, the impact you're able to have on service members, man. I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm glad you saw it through.
Yeah, me too, man. I wouldn't change, even though despite everything that's happened, if I could go back in time, I'd do it again.
Protein Snack Shop isn't here to hide nutrition in cardboard packaging. They handcraft decadent tasting bars, blondies, and even cheesecakes that happen to be gluten-free, vegan, or keto friendly. Honey or erythritol. honey, or erythritol sweetened, honey, or erythritol sweetened, and free from soy and preservatives. Created in Smyrna, Tennessee by Dana and Sonny Hampton, this couple turned a small kitchen passion project into a statewide snack phenomenon without sacrificing taste or integrity. In a world drowning in artificial influence and surface level noise, this is different. The Relentless Pursuit podcast does not chase likes or clicks. It's raw, real, and it's built on purpose. This show doesn't just speak to minds, it speaks to souls. And that's exactly why Protein Snack Shop belongs here. Because your snacks aren't just high protein, they're high integrity. So are you ready to energize deeper than macros? That's just an important lesson for everyone in life, no matter whether it's the military or whatever you're going through.
Absolutely.
Like, just keep going.
Yeah, keep it. I mean, the thing I kept saying is, you're going to have to kick me out.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to quit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was your relentless pursuit, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, and then we were talking about your transition from, not transition, but you're always been a combat engineer, but getting into the mental health side of things. But before you get to that, I'm curious about, initially being a combat engineer, how long were you just in that before you got into the mental health side? And did you have any deployments prior to that, or what?
No. So my unit actually deployed to Afghanistan while I was commissioning. So they had actually come home shortly after I finished commissioning. So I was not allowed, and I was not allowed to go with them to Afghanistan because I was still trying to complete that commissioning requirement.
Okay.
So when you get in with you're a cadet at that point, right? So in the Guard, you continue to drill, and you get paid like an E5, but I took that opportunity to really learn what the military was really going to be like.
Yeah.
And so I got the E4, E3 perspective before ever commissioning, right?
Yeah.
So I had a deep appreciation for the Engineer Corps and what we did, our versatility, because we provide counter mobility, mobility, and survivability, right?
Yeah.
So those things, it's tough. It's a tough job. So when we talk about grit, right? Being a combat engineer is gritty. You have to be tough to do it. We provide those freedom of maneuvers to our forces in combat, and we also deny maneuverability to the opponents.
Yeah.
So it's a huge deal. It's very important. And I was all in. I was like, I am so proud of, that was my identity, right? Like, I am a combat engineer. I am an engineer, and I'm going to be an engineer officer.
Yeah.
And it was, so when my guys got back from Afghanistan, it's important to note here that everyone came back. Everyone came back. There were a couple of injuries, but there were no fatalities. So our commander brought everyone home safely.
When you joined it, what year was it you joined?
09.
09?
Roger.
So you went through college and then joined in
Correct.
09.
Well, yeah, so I was in college, and I joined 09 while going through college.
Okay.
And then went to drill every month while still going to school and trying to commission.
How old are you?
I am 38.
Okay, cool. So I'm a little behind you. I joined in 09 as well.
Yeah?
Yeah. I enlisted in 09.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, joined 09, swore in March of 2009, and just had my 16 Army birthday in March. So
sweet, man.
Yeah, still
Congrats.
still hanging on to dear life.
Yeah, I was just curious, before you got into that, because I'm just trying to get an idea of the timeline.
Yeah,
and all this stuff.
So by 2012, which is when our guys came home, it was they were going into a reset year. They come home from Afghanistan. I had just commissioned, like I had just taken, and I'd been assigned a platoon, and it was like, okay, it's time. And I actually knew the commander formerly before he deployed. Like, I knew him when I was a cadet.
Yeah.
And he was a first lieutenant at the time. And the reason why this is all relevant is because I mentioned that everyone came back home okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was the struggles and everything else that followed their return that marked that. It was like it was an error. And so the Army is really good at the joke is that we trauma bond the shit out of our people, right?
Yeah.
we get them in a box, we trauma, and that forges the best friendships.
Yeah.
It really does. And then you kind of get scattered through the winds. But in this particular unit, it was a family, and we were all blindsided by what happened next, which was effectively that Captain Gilly made the decision to take his own life. Damn. And that, as the commander, that just doesn't happen, right? So it didn't make any sense to me at the time, because I was like, I knew him, like I said previously. So I'm like, why did this man, who was normally very strong, he was big into fitness, he had a very like, this is my unit, this is my way, follow me and I will bring you back, right? And he did. So he was very much a machismo guy, right? So the effect, we didn't see the cracks. And
it was such a surprise.
Such a surprise, at least to me. I can only speak on my experience, but I know a lot of people shared that sentiment. They're like, what happened, right? And how does somebody bring everybody back home from Afghanistan? And I don't know if you know what engineers do in COIN environments or counterinsurgency.
Yeah.
We're route clearance. They hunt for bombs, right? So they did route clearance in Afghanistan in 2011.
I had a guy on my show that was actually the first part of the first group to go like IED searching.
Oh man, it's...
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, your adrenaline? Like,
I think he was a combat engineer, and he was in there's a book about it. It's called like the Black Triangle. Dang it, I'm gonna have to find out.
Yeah,
because I think you'd find it interesting.
I would love it. So when it took, I got to be honest, it took me a while to shake that. I don't really think I did shake it, to be honest. If I'm being transparent, I think that was that's now part of who I am. Surviving that law, because it wasn't just Thomas Gilly leaving. We had to clean out his apartment after he was, to get his TA-50. There was a lot of interactions with the family, a lot of confusion. But after he passed and he left this world, it seemed like it was almost like either a curse, or it was like giving the other service members permission. And they just started dropping over the years. We lost 3 back to back. And
within like what was the time frame between him and these 3?
Just a few months.
Oh, and they just, damn.
Yeah, it was boom, boom, boom.
Y'all I'd imagine just being in a like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, like people would come to our unit and be like, "Is everyone good?" Right? And we're like, "Obviously not." This is not a. So it became that. Then I started shifting, because again, these guys are family now, right? So now I'm in this family, I'm in this collective, and we just took this huge hit, and then everyone's like, "Hey, we're so sorry for your loss." And then the world kept spinning, but this unit kept having that lingering, those memories, those echoes.
Yeah.
And I knew from that moment. Because then not only was it happening at first I thought, well, this is just part of the military. It's part of this community. It's part of the first responder community. And this is just something that happens to it. But then it started happening in my civilian life. It was about, I think it was only 3 years. 3 years. And then we noticed essentially my niece took her life. So she was 15. So then after that, it was just friend after friend, or it just, it's an associate, and then close friend. And then, that friend that I was telling you about that said, "Hey, we're going to join the Army."
Yeah.
Well, he ended up driving into a semi.
What the hell?
Yeah. And that just completely blindsided all of us, right? Just to have that loss. And it was deemed an accident. That's something I'm still struggling with. But when we say, like, I miss him every day. I miss everyone. And that's part of the motivation. So then my identity wasn't just combat engineer anymore. Like, that's when there was a switch.
Yeah.
And then it became, okay, I'm never going to let this happen again, as long as I can prevent it. And it did.
Something clicked that you were a better fit. I don't know how much on to word this. You're serving your country by serving the people
who serve the country.
Serve the country.
And I knew, because I'm in that uniform. I'm still in that uniform. So we sat in the same, like, the thing that always sticks out, and and I know I'm sidetracking a little bit, but when we talk about my commander, Captain Gilley, all right, Thomas Gilley, we were all in the brief the month before he took his life. And we were doing a suicide prevention brief. And it was a PowerPoint presentation like, hey, this is it. This is why you shouldn't kill yourself. It's a bad idea to kill yourself. And it was so agonizing that everyone was joking in the room, including myself, who had no idea what was to come. But as soon as we were joking, we were like, man, this PowerPoint wants me to suicide. Like, it's going to make me want to kill myself. Yeah. He said those words. He was like, this is a fucking joke. And I don't, and I'm quoting, so pardon the language, but he was laughing. He was like, this is so stupid.
That's dark.
Yeah. And everyone around him was looking to him and they were laughing too. Like, yeah, this is a joke. And he was like, and he just, again, projected this air of strength. Like, my boys don't have to worry about this. Right. So, and that stuck with me. I'll never forget his face. And when he did suicide and he left us, there was that just added to the what is real? I don't even know what real is anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in these, and then we had to go through the same presentation shortly after because we had so many suicides. They had another suicide prevention stuff, and I was like, this absolutely will not stand, right? So I knew it wasn't working.
I used to scoff at all those briefings.
Yeah, because
I don't need to be at this shit.
Yeah, you know, and part of that when you're young, you understand death is there. You understand that eventually.
Yeah.
But the concept of mortality hasn't quite rooted itself, right? So you're still young and invincible and piss and vinegar, and you're still doing all the stuff, the hard charging stuff, and we're combat engineers. We ain't soft, and then when that, I tell you, man, it ravaged our unit. It's hard to articulate. And and more importantly, you didn't articulate because there was still a stigma at the time. And I made it my life mission because then it's like, okay, well, if we come up and we voice our opinions, we're going to get subjected to the same shitty PowerPoint that my commander laughed at and then killed himself. So it's clearly ineffective.
Yeah.
And it could have possible implications on my career. Right. I don't want my security clearance taken. I don't want all this stuff. When in the reality as it exists today, that's not true. That's not necessarily true anymore. Like you're not going to, if you go and get mental health, you're not going to lose your security clearance.
Yeah.
If it's handled appropriately. And we didn't know that, right? I didn't know that. All we had was this one PowerPoint presentation and the stigma in military culture that if you spoke up it's just like going to sick call. You were soft, you were weak, and you were trying to just either seek attention or skate around your duties. And that silence was killing us.
We need to do something different.
100%. Like, this is soft. So then the Army was desperate because the 22 a day statistic, it's not just 22 anymore. It's more.
Yeah.
That's not just like a fancy slogan you slap on a bracelet. That's
what would you say it is? Because I was going to ask this earlier.
Yeah, I think it's closer to 24 to 27. Damn. If we were to look it up today. Yeah. So and I don't have those statistics in front of me, but I think just in April of 2024.
I got a question. This is just an assumption of mine.
Yeah, isn't it?
Because I see how many people just in general suffer from on the outside things look great, their job, whatever, but like their home life is bad.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of people's issues stem from toxicity within the home. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
Like they're miserable at home, so they go to this job. For me, for example, it's like no matter what adversity I face, right? I go home to a loving home.
Yeah.
That makes it all worth it.
Oh, 100%.
If you go home and it sucks.
Yeah.
Well, then, dude, it's just going to beat you down.
Yeah.
But nobody sees that, right? So, and I've always thought, because I never saw much of an emphasis on like how to be better husbands and wives and like bringing, the family unit together, because that has a massive effect on you and your career as well and vice versa. So how do we get these guys to cope with what they've been through and still be who they're supposed to be under their roof? Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
So this isn't I don't know any statistics. I'm just like, to me, it's a thought like, man, maybe there needs to be an emphasis on improving that part.
No. So that's a great point. That's why I exist as a Title V technician. as a federal employee. That is, when we focus on readiness, it's 3-dimensional.
Okay.
So, and what I mean by that is it focuses, hey, are you happy with your job?
Yeah.
Okay. No. Okay. What about your home life? Are you, so one of the questions that I ask is, how are things going at home, right? How's everything? And if a lot of marital concerns contribute a lot to the military crisis when we talk to mental health, financial issues are a huge contributor, right? And I believe, if I'm being honest, I'm pretty sure that's what was getting my commander. That we just didn't know. We didn't know because those are his finances, right? I didn't take a look at his books. And then when we talk about readiness, in order to keep the soldier in the fight, the Army learned. It learned that FRG, which was Family Readiness Group, it has a stigma attached to that title because, see, back all the way from the Revolutionary War, when we talk about readiness, like FRG existed, and it was, volunteers and members or family members, if you would, that got together and figure out how can we support our soldiers, our service members, and all the way from the Revolutionary War, right, to present day. So back in 2019, the Army realized that was critical. Yeah, but they also love standards. So since it all is volunteer driven, you had some units that had a great FRG program, and you had some units that maybe had the commander and first sergeant's wife that were just gossip circles. Yeah. And that put a bad name on FRG. So then they said, we're going to change the program to SFRG, Soldier Family Readiness Group. And to capitalize on what you'd mentioned earlier, where you said, well, maybe we need to improve the home life, they took a 3-dimensional approach to readiness. And so you had financial readiness, you had mental readiness, you had employment readiness, you had all these things that if the service member was not content, especially as a reservist, with their job, they're not making enough, or they're not eating enough, they're having trouble bringing groceries home, how are they going to how are they going to contribute effectively in a fight? Exactly. So we've got to address those needs. So that's what I do. That's literally, so I try to identify what they need to stay combat ready, but not just, and when I use that term only doctrinally, right? When I say combat ready, just people staying in the fight, being resilient, right? So
they're still people.
They're not just shell of what they could be.
Oh, that's a tough thing too. I mean, it's just the fact of the matter is like, a lot of times whoever is serving in the marriage, right? They're the sole provider. Oftentimes.
It's on their shoulders.
So if it's like, dude, that's a tough place to be in. Like not being able to provide, but then you got to go fight. But you're so concerned, dude. That'll beat you the hell down.
So I can't tell you how many service members call me and where they deploy, and they're so worried about money or things going on back home, like Jody paying a visit, if you know what I mean. So if Jody pays a visit, and then their head's not in the game. And if their head's not in the game when they're overseas and deployed, that's not good, right? So we
spiral.
Exactly. So these little contributaries happen here and there that cause this huge spiral. And then we end up losing the service member one way or another. Maybe he gets out, or maybe that he's not motivated to be in the fight anymore. And then, it being a soldier takes a back seat. Yeah. And we realized retention wasn't about just holding on to people. That was the old Army way, is just stay in because you should. You should be thankful you're staying in the Army, right? Like, just stay in. You want to be a man, serve, right? And if you get out, you're going to be homeless. That was, and you're going to suck without the Army. The Army is who you are. But in reality, we figured out that retention is about that, like I said before, that 3-dimensional about, a support. Yeah. Are we paying our guys enough? Are they eating enough? What's their home life like? Does their wife need mental health or counseling? It's tough being an Army spouse. It is tough. They serve too in their own right. It's tough being in a military family. It's tough having kids and being in the military. Right. So when you have all of these factors that show up, we do have this relentless adherence to discipline. Like, so, but when I was a commander, the first thing I didn't do was choose someone out for being late to formation. I asked why. Why were you late? Yeah. And then I try to identify trends. If it became a trend or a pattern, then I destroyed them. Yeah. But if it was just like, hey, I'm late because I don't have a car. Why don't you have a car? Well, it got repossessed. Why did your car get repossessed? Right. So then you're jumping down the train. Well, my hours got cut. Where do you work? Where do your hours got cut? You're such in a financial start that he got repossessed? Like, what happened? And then you're like, yeah, I'm not sleeping. I'm not eating. And I deal with this every day.
It's like asking if someone's happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
If you jump down their throat, they're not going to say shit.
Well, they're going to say, Roger, sir.
Dude, and it's like, it's all full circle because, you need to have that mental fortitude.
Yeah.
People, they need to be strong. I think just in general, like, especially as men, like you have to have all those things, but it doesn't take away from, like, if you're just that, then this is getting lost, right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
You wouldn't believe how tough people become when you support them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Dude, I'm telling you.
They can do anything. Right?
Yeah.
And that's, if you support your service members, they will go to hell with you with gasoline drawers on.
Yeah,
if you support them. Yeah.
Anybody, when they feel truly loved and cared for, like that raises their purpose so much more, too.
Absolutely. You're not a cog in the machine.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's absolutely. So when you support them, they will move mountains for you.
Yes.
And that's what I learned before I commissioned. Let's say if you take care of your NCOs are going to take care of you, period.
Yeah.
And if you care about your service, and caring about the service, like I care about the troops, okay, do you know their kids' names? Do you know their hobbies? Do you know what they're passionate about? What are their interests? What's their spirituality? Are they? What's their faith? Are they walking with God? Are they? What do you know about them other than their technical and tactical proficiencies? Which, as combat engineers, it was like, hey, you have these MET tasks, mission essential tasks, that enable or prevent either able our maneuver or prevent the enemy. And it's very tactically oriented, right? So you had to be mentally and physically tough.
Yeah.
But you know how many, I think at the time there was a financial brief, and I'm using air quotes here, that was like, hey, don't be a fuck up. Don't spend more money than you make and avoid debt, and don't go buy a Mustang or don't go buy a Hellcat for 300% interest right off the base, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, that's useful information, but are you asking them, hey, are you eating, right? Why did you fail that PT test?
Yeah.
We had one guy that was normally a hard charger, and then he failed his PT test, and you're like, what happened, right? So the initial things, we got to flag them. And if they're flagged, they can't get awards, they can't get promoted, they can't go to schools, and that flag stays in their system. And he had failed another one. He failed the diagnostic, right? So then they gave him another one. He failed that.
Yeah.
But instead of us sitting there and saying, hey, what's happening right now? It turns out the guy hadn't eaten in like a week and a half, really. So he was shoveling all of his food for the family, right? So he wasn't financially, he didn't have financial resilience. He wasn't financially ready. So then everything else, and eventually it started to suffer, including his military career, right? You can't sit there and be impervious to all those secondary and those effects. They have consequences.
Yeah.
And instead of him being able to reach out and say, hey, I'm really struggling, we could have taken him. The thing is, the resources were there. We could have taken him to a food bank and had him eaten that day.
Yeah.
If he had just said, hey, I'm struggling, we could have helped him.
But he didn't.
But he waited till it was absolute, like he wasn't going to tell us. He was never going to tell us.
Yeah.
And I understand there's a lot of trepidation because of the military culture and the stigma. And that is when I knew, like I said, that switch, it was, we're going to do something about this. And then we identified what it was. My plan of action, if you will, was to attack the stigma.
Attack the stigma, man. Because, how do you maintain the standard,
right,
while still connecting with the human aspect of it, right? Because I think that's like what it's always been. It's like, you're a soldier, like that's all you know. Like, get married, you get benefits, but we're not going to teach you how to be a husband and a father. Just show up and do your fucking job.
Yeah.
You know?
In the military, absolutely. The military stigma, like the stereotype is, I'm going to marry the stripper off a base on Cesarean Scar Tuesday. And we're going to get shacked up so then I can get the BAH and I can get off post housing and all that stuff. When the Guard has a similar problem, with just if you get more money, the incentive is there to get married. But how many resources at the time were there for marital counseling? There wasn't a lot of people jumping up to take those resources. Yeah. It was, again, that stigma was there. So I knew, I was like, in order to really affect the change, one, we have to be the change. And two, we're going to have to attack the stigma head on.
Yeah.
And I actually we found the Army was pretty desperate, like I had mentioned earlier, about trying to correct the problem when it comes to suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
And they addressed it the only way the Army knows how, right? Which is PowerPoint and trying to adapt. But then they took a chance and they started incorporating a program called Assist. It's by Living Works. It's been around since the 80s.
Yeah.
And Living Works Assist is applied suicide intervention skills training.
Okay.
Assist. And what that does is it literally teaches someone how to sit, listen, and identify what we call a turning point. It's an emotionally charged or the aha moment of what is keeping that person there in that moment.
Yeah.
And then facilitating that into either a safety plan or a conversation about like, hey, this is why. So it is an honest and in-depth curriculum, if you will, about talking about suicide.
Yeah.
Talking about suicide, having that tough, difficult conversation, being equipped to handle what they have to say, because again, it's very uncomfortable. And imagine being in an elevator, instead of the elevator talk, you're like, yeah, I'm thinking about killing myself. Yeah. And then you're like,
but it's communication,
it's
man.
communication. So instead you say, well, let's talk. If you're not like, and you don't clam up, you say, well, let's talk about that, man. What's going on? What's got you you thinking about killing yourself? That's you are. And I tell everybody this, when someone's thinking about suicide, they are actively fighting thousands and thousands of years of self-preservation.
Yeah.
They're trying to turn off that instinct to stay here. And that takes tremendous energy and fortitude.
It's almost like generationally too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think for 1,000 years, like it probably wasn't common. It hasn't been common for men and people to express themselves like the way they do now.
No,
right?
It's a different,
But we're in a different world, man. It's just the facts.
Yeah, 100%.
And people are becoming more connected and seeing like, they're willing to dive deeper into the deeper levels,
right.
into the depths. Like
That's
men, correct. Like you still get, I don't even know the term boomer. Like, that, like we learn a lot of these things through family conditions. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, grandpa was tough. He didn't talk about his problems. He just freaking worked and worked, and it's like, okay, yeah, but you never really knew what was going on here. But then you start paying attention and you see, maybe things in like your father or someone else's or whatever the case is. But we're at a point in time where all of that is shifting.
Yes.
So you think like thousands of years of like probably a very similar mindset to like now we're faced with a problem that we have to like shift that much conditioning.
Right. So it is
like breaking chains, man.
So generational emulation. Is that is the cake is a lie tattoo on your yeah.
Oh, key lime pie, dude.
Oh, nice.
My favorite thing in the world.
Good to go.
Like my wife, and she's perfected it for me. So she makes a key lime pie. I'm eating the whole thing. That maybe I might save like half of it for the morning.
There's a protein recipe out there for key lime pie that's just like it cuts down the sugar and all the shit.
It just wouldn't be the same, dude.
It's not 100%, but
there's certain things I won't taint.
Is that sacred? Key lime pie is sacred.
It's sacred, dude. I believe in it so much. If the world was burning around me and I just had, I had a key lime pie there, I'd be like,
that's the comfort.
Good,
it's the anchor.
Yeah, man. So as you can see, I'm committed. Liquid Death, Serial, Criminal.
I'm gonna crack mine open here in a minute.
Dude, it's so good. I'm telling you, it tastes just like Fruity Pebbles.
I'm here for it. In fact, I'm gonna do it. I'm here for. So I like Liquid Death. I like it a lot. God damn, that's Fruity Pebbles.
Isn't that wild?
That's nuts.
I don't think anybody asked for this, but they were like, dude, we'll give it to you anyways.
So the Army is big on tradition, right? But not just, let's put the Army aside for a minute. When we talk about generational emulation, it's like, well, my grandparents beat their parents with a belt. My parents, either spanked or they chose not to spank, or however form of childhood that or parenting that they chose to take, we are statistically more inclined to emulate those things unless we try to consciously break away from that, right? So sometimes if a child, or if I was spanked And then I was like, you know what? I never want to do that to my kid. That is a conscious effort to defy that emulation.
I would spank my parents, nothing against them, but I don't spank my daughter.
Well,
I got a different way to go about it.
Different times. Yeah. So I was born in the 80s, right? So that was different times. That was the last generation before the internet, well, the internet was there, but it was very primitive, right?
Yeah.
So I remember, I think it was early 90s when we had our first desktop, because my dad worked at Comdata or IBM. So, and not everybody had a computer. So when we talk, emulation and things of that nature, there's a conscious effort to step away from it, and that takes work, right? That takes work, and then how do you attack a stigma? You talk about it.
Yeah.
You address it. You say, here's a problem, and we need to fix it. And even if you don't have the solution, talking about it is literally the most critical step to addressing it. And the insidious part about mental health is we have generations that did not talk about it, that would not talk about it. And the fact, if you did talk about it, it was more of a poor reflection on your character than it was just sitting in silence and letting it fester.
Yeah.
So we had to, and like I said, the Army incorporated ASSIST for a little while to try to address that stigma. And when we understood it was, I use the analogy that I had mentioned earlier when we talk about paying the bill.
Yeah. So
you can sit and fester in silence. You can. And in all of your bravado and all of your machismo, you're poisoning yourself and the others around you because, again, there's secondary and tertiary effects of holding it in. So you're presented a problem, and you can pay the bill, and then you can put in the work and invest in the currency to pay that bill and address that problem. Or if you sit there and let it sit and fester in silence, that bill is still due. The bill comes due, period. So then in time, that bill now owes interest. So either you pay the bill now, you work on the hard stuff now, or you pay for it later.
Yeah. Either way, it's getting paid.
It's getting paid.
I say it all the time. There's a price to be paid for everything.
100%. The
Every
bill
action
will come due.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there, well, I'll just suffer in silence and strive on. Cool. Well, now you're drinking. Or now you're doing other ways to cope. Well, now your employment's suffering because you chose to self-medicate. Yeah. Or and this is just general examples, right? Yeah. But it's a reality that many of our guys face. Yeah. And not just military, first responders, and the corporate world. Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm going to put in all these hours, and then I'm going home. My wife hates me because I'm investing all my time and energies in my job and not her. So now she hates me, and now my family life is shit. Yeah. And then it just progresses, right? So we were mentioning that earlier. So the bill always comes due.
Or people become addicted to that dopamine release, and they get addicted to pornography. Yeah. That's very common and something I like to talk about.
Super common.
Yes. And that's just as detrimental as all those things. And I would suggest maybe even worse in a lot of ways. But anyways.
Well, it's more insidious.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
You look at cocaine, you're like, that is a drug. If I ingest this, it will have these effects, and it could be potentially bad for me.
Yeah.
What about your phone? What about the dopamine releases you're getting from mobile games? Or what if you're doing just social media? Yeah. And so you are at home, and instead of connecting with one another, you're glued to that screen. Yeah. And that's more insidious. It's not something that is vibrant and open and peacocking out there. Yeah. You're like, alcohol is bad, tobacco is bad, gambling is bad. But what about pornography? Mm-hmm. What about these small little... And so you're doing these things to kind of help escape that bill that you should have paid. Yeah. And then when you don't pay that bill, you don't talk about that bill, you throw it under, it will come due, and then it'll have interest. And that interest can manifest in a multitude of problems, one of them being suicidal ideation, mental health crises, and not just mental health, physical health, right? Or spiritual health. You can stray from a path so easily and become a shell of who you were supposed to be or who you are because you're so wrapped up in the world that is forging you.
Yeah, and by the time instead of facing it up front, and by the time you have to pay the interest, you also got to deal with the fact that maybe a lot of these coping mechanisms or habits have stacked up.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So you've got a multitude of things that have also come with that,
Absolutely.
So you got to carry that through the shit with you.
Yep. And that is your baggage. And now instead of just paying the bill, so you know what? I need to work on my mental health. Maybe I should go to bed earlier, maybe limit my screen time. Maybe I should go to the gym more. Mm-hmm. Now it's, okay, now I'm addicted to substances, or I am doing these things that I know I shouldn't be doing, or I'm avoiding things that I really should be doing. Yeah. And it all just compounds. And how do we address it? How do we address a stigma that is so insidious? And I keep bringing that term up because it's not so open with its poison, right? It's not something that has a warning label that's slapped on it. It's so this is mental health. And you have all of these campaigns like, we're going to stop suicide. How are you going to do that, right?
Because the awareness is out there. It's growing, but why are the numbers increasing of suicides?
How are you going to address it? So then you have to talk about it. Yeah. And it's uncomfortable.
And talking about it's free.
It's absolutely free. Absolutely free.
We can do all these things to raise money for awareness. That's great, and I'm not knocking that. Like,
no, it's an important step. It is. Having those resources available gives you helps you formulate the safety plan, right? Yeah. It does. But when we talk, there's nothing that will replace just listening,
human connection,
and caring in that connection. Exactly. Yep. So it's hey, and a lot of the times that looks like, hey, you could not, whether you've seen the invitations, we call them the red flags, if you will, we call them invitations. And we call them invitations because it opens the door for the conversation. Yeah. The tough conversation. And I'm relentless when it comes to that. Like, I'm like, so, I'm having a real bad day. And I said, okay, well, why are you having a bad day? What's going on? Let's talk about it. Right. And then they expound upon that. But they're not actively saying, because I'm thinking about suicide, right? I'm relentless. I'm like, hey, so when somebody tells me that they're having a bad day because they're having trouble at home, or they're not getting enough hours, or they're drinking too much, or they're having all these health problems, I would need to ask the question to that individual, are you thinking about suicide? And it changes the whole dynamic of the conversation. You feel the air shift. You do. And then they're like, and sometimes they say no. And you're like, okay. But then you just be present and you hear their story. And then later they come in late. I've had it happen all the time where they come at me at a later date and we're like, hey, you were really onto something. I wasn't aware that I was suicidal, but I am.
Have you had anybody tell you you've saved their life?
Oh, absolutely.
What goes through your mind in that moment?
So I can't say that. I mean, just that it's so cathartic. It really is. It's such a powerful moment for me because, again, it's all personal. It's all personal.
To me, it's holy.
It is.
It's a spiritual thing.
It is a. That's a better way to describe it.
That's holy work, man.
It is. It's the moment where you're saying my journey has this purpose, and this purpose we help someone, and I can't replace that. There's no simulacra. There's no way to emulate that other than being able to sit there and go, hey man, thank you so much. You saved my life. And that makes it all worth it. All the shit that I had to do, all the stuff, it makes it worth it, man.
And that's, it's beautiful you say that because I feel that, and through this platform, like just getting these stories out there and like really building that and seeing the possibility with it, that's going to happen. It's just like, that's why it is so clear because it's a holy pursuit almost. It is. And you were on that same thing. And I love to freaking hear that, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if I could give anybody advice, whether there be a veteran or a service member, is just be open to listen. Yeah. It takes no effort. And I would like to tell you that there's not energy committed to listening because sometimes it can be uncomfortable. Sometimes you may not like what they have to say. And there's some other times it's important to know when you're not the guy. When you're not the guy to carry the torch. Like, for example, and a perfect example for that is if you're a very close friend that they may not come to you, but you still want to have that attention. A good family member, right? A good family member probably won't want to come to you to say, hey, I'm suicidal for a variety of reasons. But if you sit there and you say, hey, listen, I understand these things that are happening. I'm hearing what you're saying. It sounds like we may need to have a conversation. Who would you be comfortable talking with?
Because maybe that family member or friend you're afraid it may skew their vision of who they think you are, right?
Like, they don't want you to be mad at them. They're afraid of how you may see them afterwards.
Exactly.
So then you just say, hey, look, don't even worry about that. Yeah. All we're doing is talking. And who would you feel comfortable talking with? I'll arrange the meeting, right? That alone is still just so helpful. And it's proven results. Yeah. So even when you're not, and I'm very careful in the terminology that I use when I say I'm not the white knight. I'm not this crusade. I'm not this hero, right? I'm not. So when someone says, you saved my life, it is this almost euphoric, cathartic feeling, and then but not losing the touch of that momentum and saying, you know what, I'm just a person just like you, who all it did was listen. Yeah, that's it. There's no secret formula, right? There's no alchemist stone that we rub
Dude, I feel you, man.
Yeah, it's just sitting there and listening and validating what they're saying, because everybody's experiences, a lot of a pitfall that we fall into is we talked earlier, right? Comparison.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, so if a teenager comes up to you and says, "Man, my girlfriend broke up with me, so I'm suicidal," your initial reaction intrinsically may be like, "So."
Yeah.
Right? Your girlfriend broke up with you, dude. You're like 17, 16. Your whole life ahead of you. There's going to be other girlfriends. But to them, it's world shattering, right? So when we focus on the veteran too, it's like, oh man, I failed the PT test. And you're like, there's going to be other PT tests. It's going to be fine, right? Just put in the work. You'll be okay.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because, thinking about what you just said, like you think about someone speaking like you're going to be good, but you can't expect that of them because they don't have the 20 years of life experience that you've had too.
Correct.
You can't speak to someone that is decades behind you.
Yeah. It is world shattering to them because it's what they know, right?
Exactly.
And you can sit there and tell you it's going to be better. That's not going to help them navigate those feelings in that moment. So being dismissive is the first way to stop the conversation.
Yeah.
Because then they're like, all right, man, cool.
Man, dude. And shame on the people that are like, oh, that's stupid. Mental health's dumb. Like, shame on them. And like, I hate that mindset, but it's like, okay, it's easy for you to say, but like, we're also trying to break that mindset because that's why the issues are here.
Well, I always present, it's easier to be like, pretend the problem doesn't exist. Isn't that easier?
Yeah.
Just to be like, you know what, mental health, if you go get mental health, then you're a puss, right? And it's easier to adopt that mentality because it's a black and white solution to an incredibly complex problem. But if I broke my leg and I went to the doctor to get a cast, you wouldn't bat an eye. You'd be like, oh yeah, he needed the cast because his leg is freaking broken.
Yeah.
Right? So all of a sudden there's a problem when we try to get a cast for our mental health.
This or this is broken.
Yeah, like if this is broken or this is broken and I go to seek help for it or treatment, what's the difference, right? It's like, well, because you could physically see my leg is snapped, or is it because of the cast, or is it because of the procedures they're in? And the answer is just because it's easier to slap a label on something and say, this is a solution, just don't talk about it. Be a man, drive on.
Yeah.
And it's an incredibly complex 3-dimensional issue.
Yeah.
When we talk about mental health, if you ask, and we avoid cookie cutter solutions. So if I ask one person about how they handle mental health and I try to apply it to the next person, even their neighbor, it may not fit, right? If I tell this one person, hey, you need to work out more.
Yeah.
And then I tell Joe B, right, hey, work out more. And he has no interest in working out. In fact, he has an injury, right, where working out causes him pain, and that is why he's so depressed. That's not going to be an adaptive solution.
Oh, for sure.
So everyone is different. There's no cookie cutter solution, and it's much easier to provide a cookie cutter mentality and say, you are a pussy if you can't go get help.
We're not robots.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, it's like, okay, no matter how what God is to you, right? Because, it could be under a lot of different names.
Yeah.
A lot of different beliefs out there. But if you think like mental health and things of the heart and that nature are bullshit, but you believe in God, something that is just pure faith.
Yeah.
How is something that's just like presently within somebody, but you believe in something that created the universe? How do you, what I'm saying? Those things go together.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, absolutely. And I trip a lot of the older NCOs up that have this mentality of grit and iron sharp as iron. That's a big mentality thing, right? So it needs to be tough to make you tough. Mm-hmm. And there's a place for that. There is, because it's a reality. But when we talk about perception, right? If you tell a young NCO or young soldier or private specialist, you are weak if you go get help, they're never going to come to you to address that situation. And I trip them up when I ask about, okay, so you think suicide's wrong. And they're like, absolutely. They're so vehement in their conviction, right? They absolutely swear and beat their chest and march to this drum of getting mental health and talking about it is a weakness, right? And if, suicide is wrong, it's black or white, which is an opinion. It's a statement.
Everything's gray.
Right. Well, so euthanasia shouldn't be a thing. We shouldn't put our dogs down because that's murder.
Yeah.
What about if I have cancer, I have stage 4 cancer, and I have only a few weeks to live? What is the right to die?
Yeah.
Fit into that equation. Let's talk about culturally. Why is it deemed respectable and understandable in some cultures like Japan.
Yeah.
Where suicide is openly talked about and it's not so stigmatized and it happens all the time. Are you going to tell an entire culture that they are weak and wrong when they don't share that same belief system?
And this has been and they're known to be a pretty tough culture. I mean, the men, like if they did dishonor, they literally, how many people would do that self?
It was encouraged, right, for hundreds of years. So it's like, oh, you brought a little dishonor on your family. Well, here's a Shinto blade, right? And
dudes were just like, all right, it's so crazy to think about.
But because it doesn't make sense to us.
But they broke from that.
They did, and well, they adapted another cultural shift, and when it comes to that, there's a lot of pressure on the economic and I should say corporate ladder. It's a huge thing. But if you tell someone that honestly believes in the right to die in euthanasia, that suicide is wrong vehemently, then you are coming with two different cultural perspectives. Yeah. Religion is another great example. We talk about faith. So if I'm like, God doesn't want you to die, you can't kill yourself because God said so. But if I didn't believe in God, what weight is that going to carry? If anything, you're going to dismiss my cultural belief and religious belief for your own. Yeah. And then, well, you just shut down the conversation. You're not listening anymore. You're dictating. Yeah. You're saying, God said you can't do this. And I'm saying, I don't believe in your God. So where do you go from there? Have a nice day. So you have to, that's the key. And we go back to listening and talking about the stigma. So you can inherently, having a belief isn't right or wrong. My belief, I'm never trying to change someone's mind or opinion about suicide or belief. I'm never trying to change their belief. I'm only just trying to hear their story and figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, I can sit here and believe that, like, I do believe it is the wrong way. I'm not going to sit there and be like, that's wrong. Yeah, I don't think it's right.
Which is the whole crux of the whole, you were wrong. And they're so adamant in that belief. They're zealot about it. So they're like, you are wrong. You are weak. If you go get help, you are weak. And then that propels, if you don't have, if that E4 doesn't share that mentality and doesn't share that perception or ability, also leadership styles, right? If they don't get motivated by getting that tough love that often military culture incorporates. Like if I slap at somebody like, stop being a little punk, and you're like, you're right, right? Then that motivates you, then that you're receptive to that. But if I'm like, stop being a little punk, and you cower, and you're like, oh, and you withdraw, I'm shutting the conversation down before it even began. Yeah. So when you sit there and go, it's wrong, it's black and white, then the E4 that doesn't know if it's right or wrong is completely shut you out. It's done.
And you're supposed to be leading them.
And you're leading them.
And look what you're training them to think like.
You're training, hey, listen to me. I mean, it's in cadences. Like, you want to be badass, you got to do it my way. And there's intrinsic value to that, especially if you're motivated by that. But when you have it would be so daft. It would be like if I was trying to give financial advice and I just said, stop being poor. Stop being poor. Quit it. It's bad for you. And you're like, thanks.
Trust me, I don't want to be poor.
I didn't wake up and decided, you know what? I don't want to eat today. It's very similar, but we don't make those connections because the stigma is there. And then you hear all these other people so adamant in their convictions that suicide is absolutely wrong. And there's something to be said, sometimes that motivates people in the right direction. There's something to be said to have that value. There is a value in that belief. But it has to match the individual, right?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. It's wild. And it's interesting to me because like people will pay like $250, $500 a ticket to go hear like a panel of 10 people tell them how they're absolutely going to crush it. Yeah. And they're going to feel like it. And then they leave and they're like, wait, how am I actually going to crush it?
Like, where's the plan?
It's the same thing as the PowerPoints or this. Yeah. Like, you actually have to give a structured plan, put action behind it and give people steps to take. Right. We got a retreat coming up and, we're talking about doing the panel thing. And my suggestion was like, well, why don't we do a panel on what not to do? I was like, I've faced a lot of things and I've made a lot of mistakes. I've learned a lot of lessons. If these people are going to have their own business, how do we tell them How do we tell them, like, okay, this is the reality. This is the things you're going to have to face, right? And I think that applies to everything in life. Like
Absolutely.
The reality and the consequences of, you know, taking certain steps, because it can apply to the suicide thing and everything.
Everything.
You know? And so I do got a couple questions for you, though.
Shoot it, Bo.
Yeah, man. This has been such a good conversation, dude. I'm fired the fuck up.
I'm so glad.
You said you're in a place of growth and healing.
Mm.
What does that look like for you at this stage in your life?
So again, when I said that I've taken it, it's very personal to me, right? So this journey is not taking it home. You can ask my family. It's difficult. There are some days, and I've actually gotten to a point where I'm communicating with my wife in colors.
Yeah.
So when I go home and I say, I'm red, that means leave me alone. It means I'm not okay. It means something happened and I wasn't able to help.
Yeah.
And I am not in a position where I can communicate that without it spilling into unhealthy communication barriers or things of that nature. So I need time to process.
Yeah.
And before I would just come home and be like, you know, shaky, like just like, and then she'd be like, oh, we're out of chicken. I'm like, oh, right now.
Fine, I will get the chicken.
But now, like that point of healing is one, just not, it's not that I'm not taking it. It's extremely personal to me. Every loss is so, it's a tattoo.
Yeah.
On my soul. And it is both the things that fire me up and keep me motivated, but it is also something that I have to go to sleep at night and see. And I think I am in a position where I'm developing healthy ways to communicate that with others. And again, I'm big on just listening, but it's also being able to communicate.
Yeah.
And being saying, hey, you know, I'm walking the walk, if that makes sense.
For sure. Oh,
so I'm not, so I call my friends and I'm like, hey, do you know I love you?
Mm.
And of course, my military guys are like, grr, right? And then we all just rip on each other. But I'm like, no, I don't let them. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I love you. And I noticed 9 times out of 10 now they're saying it back without hesitation. I love you too, buddy. And there's no disarming or, you know, what we call in the Brazilian jiu-jitsu, no shrimping away from it, right? We're not trying to skate around it or anything. It is just a vulnerable moment. You know, I love you. Hey, yeah, I do. I love you too, buddy. And that took work, right? Because otherwise, our way of telling each other that we loved each other or that we were there in our corners was just ripping on each other, right? The very military culture where you're like, you know what, you're a piece of shit. You know, just rip on each other. And in fact, I joke with my wife that I say things to my best friends that I'd never say to another person. And,
same.
And that's it's how we communicate, right? But I think when I talk spiritual growth and you know, just healing, I'm trying to let the past experiences still fuel my desire to be part of the solution.
Yeah.
Without it also hurting myself and everyone around me.
Yeah. So the being conscious of like being part of the solution, but that doesn't mean
burnout.
Just pour into that.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Make yourself a better part of the solution. And that takes that personal growth as well.
Right. It does. And it you know, when you run into a trap where it becomes your identity. Right? If I can't be of service, I'm useless. Yeah. Yeah. And that it's something I recognize. Like, I'm like, no, I can't be that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not healthy to be that way because even if I don't help someone, that doesn't mean I'm useless, right? I can help them in other ways and I can provide other resources. But for a long time, I had that mentality. I'm worthless if I can't be of service.
Yes, dude. Sometimes helping someone the best you can is sending them a different route.
Right.
Right? Like you don't have to be the one to do it all.
You don't have to be the guy.
Because eventually you may not be that helpful if you just feel like you always got to be that guy.
Yep.
Dude.
And you can't always be that guy.
How do you find the balance without losing yourself?
It's difficult. It's hard. And it requires a lot of introspection. Yeah. And it also requires a lot of vulnerability and just kind of sitting there and go, sometimes I will sit and I'll go, why am I angry right now? And I might not always have the answer. I'm like, I don't know why I'm pissed off. Yeah. I don't. But what I'm not going to do is make it my wife's problem, right? Or I'm not punishing other people for not put in the work that I need to put in. Yeah. So finding that balance is what I typically strive for is just walking that walk, being open to communication, talking to others, my battle buddies about it. So if I'm going to sit there and preach to you, hey, you need to talk about mental health, then I need to talk about mental health. Yeah. So I'll call my buddies and I'm like, I'm not in a good space. And I have to fight the urge to suffer in silence,
Yeah.
to let it stew and, like a cauldron, and you're just addressing it. And I noticed when you start being open and vulnerable with your own journey, then others are much more inclined to share theirs with you.
There's so much power in it.
There's that, and there's a testimony to that, right?
Yeah.
There is. And so in order to find that, like, I'll know, the who helps the helpers, who watches the watchers. So when you look at the rates for burnout for first responders, for nurses, for the medical professional community, the mental health community, you realize that it's very, very, very high.
Oh, yeah.
With first responders and the mental health community, nurses, psychiatrists, therapists, individuals that have to deal with people that are at their lowest for a prolonged period of time. The burnout rate is real.
Yeah.
It is absolutely real. How do you prevent that? Well, if you take it home with you, then it eats you up there.
Yeah.
So then what you have to do is figure out how to address the problem while you're not becoming the problem. And that, it can look like a variety of ways, right?
Yeah.
So but openly communicating about that is critical, and trying to find the balance where it doesn't become your identity, especially if you fail. Right. So that it can't be who you are.
Yeah.
It can be, you can be the helper, and that could be who you are. But when things go, inevitably they go wrong, because you can't, and the reality is you can't save everyone. Mostly because if they didn't come to you in the first place, or you had no idea, how can you? Right?
Yeah.
They didn't have the opportunity, and that doesn't fall on your shoulders. But a lot of people who are in my profession, that is the pitfall that we fall into, is that, well, it does fall on our shoulders. That I should have seen the signs. I should have seen it. I should have known. I should have had some form of omnipotence.
Yeah.
And been able to been just, psychically projecting a beam into my head.
Not a magician.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And for a long time, that was really, that was the case for me. I did not embody my successes. I should say, not just our successes, like the communication and people coming to me to save my life. I just remembered and focused on the ones that I couldn't.
Yeah. Focus on the impact you've made,
Yeah.
not the impact you could have made.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
we'd go to a funeral and we lowered it, and they're like, "This is my fault." Right. And that's it's a bad thing, right? And I can sit there and tell you, I know that's a bad thing, but that doesn't stop me from feeling it.
Yeah, man, for sure.
And communicating that with those around me, and also people in my community and my family, mostly other veterans. There is such a, I mentioned the word testimony before. There's a power there.
Oh, without a doubt, dude.
There's a power. And being trained, that's why I keep saying, guys, just be open to the conversation. Just be open and vulnerable and say, hey, look, we got to talk about this. And I'm okay if somebody says, well, it's wrong. Because then I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. Why do you feel like it's wrong?
Yeah, open the door. Discussion.
Yeah, it opened the door. And then they're like, well, because I think that it's a sign of weakness. And then you could either play devil's advocate or encourage, but then eventually they start talking and they get their personal beliefs out on why they feel that way.
Yeah.
And then you can address those together.
Yep.
And still, even if it's a toxic viewpoint to have, in some scenarios, there can still be a value in addressing it, talking about it, finding out why they feel that way, and then make them maybe, just maybe, open into two different perspectives and beliefs and things that they didn't think about.
A lot of times with that mindset, there's a lot of like things built up that they haven't faced. That's tended to be my
and I use open
analysis of it.
Using an open-ended statement like, "Why do you feel that way?"
Yeah,
and then make them explain it. Right? Like,
because
it's wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like it's wrong? I'm just curious. I'm just curious why you feel like it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because, and then inevitably, a couple of things happen. Right? Well, it's because the Bible says so, or is it because it's a sign of weakness and only cowards do it? So then that comes from a place of hurt.
Yeah.
Right. So then you're like, okay. So there are patterns.
Oh, dude. Yeah. You can.
Yeah.
It takes time, but you can get that out of people too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And bridge that understanding.
And how you get it out is just by being sincere, authentic.
Yep.
Right. And then just say, hey, I'm here, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't give me a wrong answer because it's your opinion.
You can't convince everybody either.
And I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not trying to change their opinion or belief. All I'm trying to see is where they're coming from and hear their story.
Dude, I freaking love what you're doing. I love your mindset. I love where you're at. And I do want you to know if you ever need to talk to me, I'm here for you, brother.
Brother, that's a two-way street. Homie.
Yeah, dude. Like I'm always here for you to chat with.
I appreciate that. Man.
Yeah, man. Because I know you carry a lot, and if you ever just need to express that, I have a lot of conversations with people. So hey, I'm here to listen. Just want to throw that out there.
I'm down, man.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. But Jonathon, man, I just want to keep going. This is ridiculous. Yeah. But I do got one final question for you. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready. Send it.
What is your relentless pursuit?
So my relentless pursuit would be to continue attacking this stigma head on and developing a community in which we, as a community, address the mental health crises as it exists in a way that is palpable and saves as many lives as we can.
Hell yeah.
Hands down.
Good shit, man. Well, I'm proud of you, dude. That's perfect.
I appreciate it.
Hey, man. Thank you for your time. Guys, we're going to have this man back. But thank you for the time. Thank you for being here. And I'm proud to know you. And I'm looking forward to next time.
Oh, absolutely, brother.
Let's give it a look. Yeah. All right, guys. Till next time.
All right.
This isn't just a podcast. This is my life's work. In a world full of noise, debate, filters, and artificial content, this platform is real. It's raw. It's human. Every episode, we dive deep into stories that matter. Pain, purpose, transformation. We're here to give people a voice, speak truth, and connect through something deeper than algorithms. We've already reached over 20 million views across all platforms, with an audience that is loyal, engaged, and passionate about this show because it speaks to the soul. If your business or brand believes in authenticity, if you value marketing through something that reflects your values and aligns with real impact, then this is your opportunity. Sponsorship isn't just support, it's fuel. It's how I keep this mission alive. It's how I continue to shine light on powerful, untold stories that need to be heard. If you want to reach people, not just through metrics, but through their hearts, their minds, and purpose, let's partner. Let's build something that matters.